I just saw the movie Prometheus. Yeah.
A king has his reign. And then he dies.
A lot of people are saying bad things about the movie, and I'm about to become one of them. It's said that the movie is anti-science. I wouldn't say that it's anti-science so much as anti-intelligence. It doesn't pick on just science, it's stupid on so many levels. It starts out on the newly cooled planet Earth with an abandoned human-like alien drinking a potion that makes his DNA break apart. His whole body starts falling apart and he falls into the water, and we see microbes start to form as the title appears. From this we are meant to assume that aliens created us, but the characters in the movie constantly assume that the aliens created us intentionally, calling the aliens engineers. This is probably because of the ancient paintings and stuff that imply that the aliens had some hand in our early history. Like they knew we were here and checked up on us after we had 4 billion years to evolve. But what if the alien was left behind by accident and just wanted to kill himself and never intended for life to spawn from his body? That would explain why the engineers wanted to kill us. So for whatever reason, the engineers get life started, wait 4 billion years, then come back to make some paintings that somehow point to a weapons depot while still looking exactly the same as they did 4 billion years ago. 4 billion years is almost a third of the universe's existence. I guess they don't evolve for some reason. Maybe it's because they're gods. I find that the stories in which human life has an alien origin never make sense for other reasons. I can imagine a movie which is totally self-consistent and the only thing that doesn't make sense is the panspermia thing, but there are always other things wrong with it. Prometheus, Battlestar Galactica, Mission to Mars, it's like life on Earth coming from another planet is such a bogus idea that it can't share a story with sensible ideas. And Prometheus just goes downhill from there. Elizabeth Shaw and her lover Charlie Holloway find a cave painting with some people and some dots. Elizabeth's response?
I think they want us to come and find them.
What? In what way is that not a non sequitur? We later learn that they found matching paintings with matching dots all over the world, and so they assumed that aliens had to be involved.
These are ancient civilizations that were separated by centuries, and yet this same pictogram was discovered in every one of them.
They said the paintings showed people worshipping a giant who pointed to the stars. How did they know a giant was involved? It could have been a normal-sized person in the foreground. And how did they know it was pointing to the stars? Those dots could have been some alien device that the aliens showed the humans. They could have been a rock formation on Earth where they buried some treasure. They could have been anything. Instead, it's concluded that the dots are an arrangement of planets in a nearby star system. It's like the creators of this movie didn't know that planets move in relation to each other, and so can't possibly be represented as an arrangement of dots. Where would you put the dots to represent our star system? Did they not think that their audience would have a third-grade education? If you wanted to show a star system with dots, you'd put them in a line and have their sizes and distances be to scale. But all of these dots were the same size, and so they were useless. This movie is set 80 years in the future when we have the technology to travel 30 light years in 2 years, build perfect synthetic humans, and watch people's dreams. There was only one line about watching dreams, and it had no explanation whatsoever. Was it only the robot who could watch dreams? If we can watch dreams, then can we read minds? If this is really a prequel to Alien, how come the synthetic guy in Alien took everyone by surprise by being a brand new technology when they apparently already had synthetics in Prometheus? And how come they never say synthetic like they do in the other Alien movies? Apparently Ridley Scott doesn't believe in old actors, because instead of casting one as the old man Mr. Wayland, he had a young actor in makeup, like this was some kind of college play, but nobody thought to apply old person makeup to his feet. And apparently people still widely believe in souls 80 years from now, because nobody laughed when Mr. Wayland's hologram says we all have one, but the robot David doesn't. Charlie Holloway is, without a doubt, the most obnoxious character in the movie, and perhaps one of the most obnoxious characters in any movie. He has that condescending Christian look about him, like Jefferson Bethke. Even when he's driving his dune buggy away from a sandstorm, you can see through his helmet and he looks like this. He treats the crew like they're kids at a summer camp while he's giving the mission briefing, and in the ruins he decides to remove his helmet simply to see if he doesn't die. When Elizabeth tells him not to, he says, "Don't be a skeptic," as if that's not the perfect time to be a skeptic. They don't need to go around licking or eating things. There's nothing to gain by taking his helmet off, and yet he does it anyway. The command crew back at Prometheus even told him not to, so why didn't they fire him on the spot when he disobeyed orders? Since he doesn't die immediately, everyone else decides to take their helmets off too. But what if he's already been affected by something in the air that they didn't detect that would later cause him a slow, agonizing death? And how would they know that other rooms they visit will have air that's just as breathable? They go in one room that's been completely sealed off from the rest of the ruins. David finds some oil and looks at it and declares, "It's organic. It just looks like oil." Does he have Geordie eyes that can scan things at a microscopic level? That's never mentioned. There are a geologist and a biologist who turn out to be incompetent cowards, so that it's unclear why they were hired in the first place. But when they're searching the alien ruins, do they run away when a bunch of alien ghosts show up? No, they run away when they see a dead alien suit of armor. Did they not expect to find any sign of dead aliens while exploring alien ruins? Did they still expect to get paid after completely failing to do their jobs? Even though they've mapped the entire ruins and are still in contact with the ship, they somehow managed to get lost when running away. If they were so scared but weren't sure how to get back to the ship, then wouldn't a proper response be to stick with the group? They finally end up in the very place they were originally running away from, and lo and behold, there are living alien monsters present. If they ran away from a dead alien, you'd think they'd be even more scared of a live one. But instead, the biologist decides to get as close as he can to this weird penis snake coming out of the oil. I say penis because snakes are scaly, and this thing was fleshy. What followed was perhaps the most horrific scene in the movie. The penis wraps around his arm and squeezes until it breaks it. It would be bad enough if it just broke his arm and ran off, but it just kept on squeezing. I imagine when your arm is broken it hurts no matter what, but hurts even more at the slightest touch. Yet here's this penis snake that just won't let go. When his arm broke, his suit tore open so the snake could slither inside his suit and then into his mouth. It reminded me of the 2001 film Evolution, when Orlando Jones says, "The fly is in my suit." But this scene was very scary and psychedelic, like The Thing. In the 2011 The Thing, there's even a scene when an alien climbs up the guy's arm and into his mouth. Back on the ship, the crew opens up a helmet they found in the ruins. There's a giant alien human head inside that's still in good condition despite being dead for 2,000 years. A great deal of care is put into preserving mummies, and we all know what they end up looking like. But this guy was just decapitated accidentally and left there. Instead of running the usual tests first, the scientists decide to immediately try and stimulate the alien's brain until its head explodes. After they've completely ruined their specimen, they decide to take a look at the DNA, and are surprised to find that it's human. The surprise should have come when they saw that it looked human. The DNA matching should have just been a, "Hey, what do you know?" But if that one engineer broke his DNA apart by drinking the potion, why would we have their DNA? The microbes sure didn't have their DNA, and neither does any other life form on the planet. Did they know that humans would eventually evolve despite the overwhelming supply of unknown random events across millions of millennia? If they wanted to make humans, why wouldn't they just make fully formed humans instead of starting with microbes and relying on evolution? So, then David poisons Charlie with the oil he found. People usually say infect, but the oil was administered via a wine glass, which is typically how you poison someone. David was presumably acting under orders from Mr. Wayland, who presumably wanted to see if the oil had any curing effects. But when David was looking at the drop of oil before he did it, he said,
Big things have small beginnings.
Like he knew that the oil would end up turning into a giant squid and then an alien queen. But how could he possibly know any of that?
Is he an expert in things that have never ever happened?
Charlie gets real sick and sees a worm crawling out of his eye like it was an apple. But he doesn't tell anyone or try to get any help and just continues on the mission. That is, until later when he's actually needed. Then he collapses and whines and demands attention despite other people getting attacked by penis snakes. At this point, Elizabeth has already been impregnated by Charlie's poisonous sperm. She says she wants an abortion, but David won't even let her look at the creature inside her. She manages to fight her way to an automated surgery pod in which robotic salad tongs remove from her a squid egg the size of a basketball. It was way bigger than a human baby, and yet Elizabeth's belly didn't grow at all to make room for it. The egg burst open and icky slime flies everywhere. The slippery, writhing baby squid remains in the grip of the robotic salad tongs, despite how difficult it is to get a hold on perfectly grippable toys and claw machines. The tongs are just holding it, like this. Just like this. And somehow the squid can't get free. Then Elizabeth's belly is stapled together and she crawls free. I'm no doctor, but I thought wounds were supposed to be cauterized. Maybe a little robotic blowtorch should have come out. Then she stumbles through the halls until she finds some crew members, including David, and, to her surprise, Mr. Wayland. Though she's in her underwear, covered with blood, and has staples across her belly, nobody thinks to ask, "What happened to you?" Maybe they're used to that sort of thing. Maybe they watch the whole thing through security cameras. At any rate, she's been massively betrayed, and yet she has no problem continuing with the mission. She told them that she wanted the creature out of her belly, and yet they wouldn't take it out, showing that they wanted her to continue carrying the creature and quite probably die. How could she trust them, and how could they expect her to? At any rate, they all head into the ruins to wake up an engineer they found there, but when they try talking to it, the engineer goes berserk and kills everyone except Elizabeth, who runs away. The engineer seems less like a mastermind and more like a villain's brutish henchman, waving its arms around like this. The engineer chases her into the lifeboat where the surgery pod and the squid are, but now the squid is way bigger all of a sudden, and it attacks the engineer like a facehugger. I don't know why a facehugger that's only there to plant a seed needs to be so huge. It seems like a waste of squid. Then at the end we see what's presumably a baby alien queen coming out of the engineer's body, and it struts around showing off its double mouth thing. So this is how alien queens are formed. Step 1. A man has to drink some oil. Step 2. He has to impregnate a woman. Step 3. The woman has to carry a squid to term. Step 4. The squid has to grow to adulthood. Step 5. The alien squid has to impregnate an engineer. Step 6. The alien queen comes out of the engineer's body. Simple as that. Damon Lindelof was a writer and producer for Prometheus, which makes sense because of his work on the show Lost. He doesn't care about things making sense. He cares about making people say, "Wow, what happened?" He stands to make more money by making less sense, seeing as my little brother saw the movie twice to try and understand it more. I have no problem with cliffhangers or mysteries, but movies should make sense and have a purpose and a point and a meaning. Mike and Jay from Red Letter Media talked about how they weren't sure if the movie didn't make any sense or if they just couldn't understand it. I can assure them it's the former. They also said the first act was great, and so I was filled with a sense of doom while watching it, thinking, if this is the good part, how bad is the bad part? It's an insulting load of crap all the way through. A dumb action movie with a surprising lack of action.